Hello everyone. Today we will start the new lesson 12, the sword of peace. This is the picture of a sword. We know that the symbol of a sword is destruction, not peace. A sword never gives peace. It gives only destruction. But in this story, we can see that one sword gives peace to the whole country. So let's read the chapter and understand the story. So once upon a time, there was a precious sword. Precious means very costly, very valuable sword. So this sword belonged to a great king. This was the sword of a great king. So this king, what he was doing in his palace was spent all his time in his palace enjoying his shows and parties. So one day what happened? One argument broke out between our king and the king of the neighboring country. And at last this argument led to them to a war. So the sword was very excited because it was going to take part in his first battle, and it imagined about the war. But what the sword was imagined, but it was not like it really happened. One day, this sword arrived on the battlefield. At that time, the sword saw the result of the war. The sword saw was broken weapons, dying men. Many were half dead on the ground, bleeding from multiple wounds. Everything was covered in dirt and there was a terrible smell. This was the result of the war. On seeing this, the sword felt sad about the war. It decided to live in peace, not waste time on wars. So on that day, on that night, the sword decided to prevent the war. This sword doesn't like to participate in the war, so it decided to prevent that war, and the sword was planning something to prevent the war on that night. So what happened? It started to vibrate, and gradually it became louder, and other swords and armors of the other soldiers. This is the sword of the king, and like that so many swords and armors are there of other soldiers. So they started to ask, why are you making such kinds of noise? What are you doing? So this king's sword said that I don't want to participate in the war. I don't like war. So another sword said that nobody likes the war, but what to do? This is our duty to do that. So this king's sword said to them that vibrate just I am doing. If we make enough noise, no one will sleep at that night. So all the weapons they started vibrating at that night, and it became very loud noise. So it was very loud, the all the weapons, because the weapons that were equally sick of the war, they joined the protest. So what happened the next morning? When the battle should have begun, not a single soldier was ready to fight. Why? Because the previous night they didn't sleep well. They spent a whole day catching up on sleep. So they decided to sleep on the daytime because they didn't sleep yesterday night. So they wanted to sleep on that daytime. During the evening, they started to wake up and decided to put off the battle for the next day, and they woke up only the evening. So at that time they decided to put off the war for the next day, not this evening. It's too late, so we will start our battle the next day. So next day also, that night also, all the weapons they started vibrating. So this happened not only for one day, for so many days it happened like that. So on the evening of the seventh day, the kings of the two armies met to see what they could do about the situation. So this carried on for the next 7 days. They started making noise not only for 1 day or 2 days, but for the 7 days they made this loud noise they made. So at last what happened? The two kings, the armies of the two kings, they wanted to meet together and to talk about the war. So on that day what happened? When they met together, at that time they were laughing like friends. So fortunately they forgot their old disputes and they put an end to the war, and each returning to his land. So what happened on that night? They forgot about their disputes, their battles and everything. They forgot, and they decided to cancel the war, and they wanted to go back to their places. So now they understood that the things which united them were much more than anything that set them apart from each other. So this sword helps them to understand war is a waste of time. So we have to live in harmony, we have to live in peace. So they understood about the importance of peace and harmony, and everybody they went to their kingdom back. So this is the story of sword. So read this chapter and read this chapter 3 times and learn the new words from this chapter. Thank you. Have a nice day.